The crown had waited centuries for a new head to claim. Resting upon its velvet cushion in the ruined throne room, the circlet of black and gold seemed almost to breathe in the torchlight, its blood-red jewels pulsing like slow, malignant hearts. The air around it hummed with a terrible energy, thick with the scent of iron and something older, something that had festered in the dark long before men had raised kingdoms from the dirt. King Aldric III should have known better. His conquest of Veldro's keep had been swift, his armies cutting through the last of the rebel lords like wheat before the scythe. But when his scouts reported finding the ancient stronghold's vaults untouched, its treasures still gleaming after generations of abandonment, even his war-hardened mind had quickened with greed. And then he saw the crown. It called to him. His advisers begged caution. The peasants whispered of the mad King Lorvith, who had worn it last, of how he had butchered his own family in a single night, how his skin had sloughed from his bones even as he laughed, how the crown had refused to be removed, its spikes burrowing deeper with every desperate tug. But Aldric was not a man who feared stories. He lifted the crown. The moment it touched his brow, the world changed. A scream tore from his throat, not his own, but a chorus of voices, 1,000 dead kings shrieking through his flesh. The gold grew hot, then molten, searing into his skin as the jewels drank the blood that welled from his scalp. His vision swam with visions of slaughter, cities burning, children impaled on spears, rivers choked with corpses, all of them wearing his face, all of them wearing the crown. Aldric did not remember drawing his dagger. Only the boy's wide, disbelieving eyes as the blade opened his throat, the warm spray on his cheeks, the rightness of it. The crown purred in approval. By nightfall, the throne room was a charnel house. His knights, loyal men who had followed him through a dozen battles, fell like butchered game. Some fought back, their swords biting into their king's flesh, but the wounds closed as quickly as they were made, the crown's cursed magic knitting him whole even as it unraveled his mind. He fought with inhuman strength, snapping necks with his bare hands, tearing limbs from sockets, painting the stones with viscera. When the last of them lay still, Aldric slumped onto the throne, his breath ragged, his hands trembling. But the crown was not done with him. The awakening below. The stones themselves seemed to shudder as Aldric descended into the crypts, his footsteps echoing through the ancient passageways. The air grew thick with the scent of wet earth and rotting meat, the torches guttering as if afraid to illuminate what lay ahead. The crown's whispers grew louder, more insistent, guiding him toward a massive obsidian door covered in runes that pulsed like a heartbeat. Aldric's hands moved without his command, pressing against the stone. The door groaned open, revealing a chamber so vast its ceiling was lost in darkness. At its center stood an altar, and upon it, a shape. At first, it seemed a corpse, wrapped in burial shrouds blackened with age. Then it moved. The wrappings fell away, revealing not bones, but something far worse, a being of shadow and sinew, its form shifting like smoke, its hollow eyes fixing on Aldric with terrible recognition. The crown sang in triumph. Aldric fell to his knees as the entity reached for him, its fingers too long, too many brushing his face. The contact sent agony screaming through every nerve. He felt his mind unraveling, his memories being consumed, his very soul siphoned away to feed the thing that had slept for millennia. The harvest begins. When Aldric emerged from the crypts at dawn, he was no longer a king, he was a vessel. The villages below the castle were the first to fall. Men, women, children, none were spared as the thing wearing Aldric's skin walked among them. Where it passed, flesh withered, blood boiled in veins, and screams were cut short as life itself was devoured. The crown glowed with stolen vitality, its jewels burning like hellish stars. By the time the sun reached its zenith, the land 4 miles around was a wasteland of corpses, their faces frozen in expressions of unimaginable terror. The earth itself had turned black and brittle, as if scorched by some invisible fire, and still, the crown was not sated. Back in the throne room, the thing that had been Aldrich placed the crown upon the obsidian altar. The jewels pulsed hungrily, their light illuminating the dozens of other crowns, now materializing from the shadows, each one unique, each one waiting for a new head to claim. For this was no mere curse, it was an invitation. And the feast had only just begun. Far away, in the capitals of a dozen kingdoms, rulers dreamed of a crown they had never seen, yet somehow remembered. Their fingers twitched with the need to touch it. Their mouths watered at the thought of the power it promised. The crowns were patient. They had waited this long. They could wait a little longer.